Display Centre. My name's Shane, and unfortunately, as you can hear, guys, they're doing work over there, so we're going to have to just watch what birds we get out. Right, so to start with, we're going to get one of our native owls out, guys. So here in the UK, we actually have 5 native owl species. The largest is the tawny owl, so we've got Tony, he's sat in his aviary. We then have the highly elusive long-eared owl. We have the short-eared owl, the smallest of the 5. It's the little owl, so we've got Ollie. It's located just around the corner. Which then leaves us with one more owl species, and this, guys, this is Ella. Now Ella, she's a female barn owl. So how can I tell she's a little girl? Now what you will notice, guys, as she's flying up and down, take a look at Ella's stomach. Now you will notice she's got these beautiful black speckles. Now generally speaking, guys, the female barn owls, they tend to have the black speckles, whereas the males, they don't. They tend to be pure white. And then also out of the two, the males, they're slightly smaller than the females. So the barn owl itself, it's a specialist small rodent hunter. So in the wild, mice, just your left hand there, thank you, shrews, occasionally rats, but they rely heavily on the short-tailed field owl population, which is lovely. So how does the barn owl locate its dinner? Well, what you will notice, guys, as she's flying up and down, take a look at Ella's face. Now you will notice she's got this fabulous heart-shaped facial disc. Now this facial disc, guys, is like a satellite receiver dish. It's like a radar dish. And what it's doing, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it funnels lots of sounds and noises into Ella's ears. Now an owl's ears, guys, are like mine and yours, are located either side of the head. But what you've got to remember, thank you very much, with the vast majority, sure left hand there, thank you, with the vast majority of the owls, there's a slight difference. Ella's ears are wonky. So her right ear, it's ever so slightly higher and larger than the left. Now, we actually term this asymmetrical hearing. But what happens, guys, is basically, because Ella's ears are wonky, it creates a time delay. Now, the time delay that's created from the noise of the rodent that hits one ear to when it hits the other, that time delay, 3 millionths of a second. But that 3 millionths of a second time delay is enough to give a directional hearing. The barn owl's hearing, it's absolutely incredible. This is what they use to pinpoint the mice, the shrews, periodically the rats, but you'll remember, guys, rats can bite. So as a result, thank you very much, you eat your smaller rodents instead. But more specifically, the short-tailed field vole as they scurry through the long grass. Now, when she flies, you will notice, guys, complete silence. The barn owl, it doesn't make any noise. Now, sorry, madam. Problem is now she normally goes to the toilet. That's the problem. It's meant to be good luck, you know. So, like I say, with the barn owl, guys, it flies silently. You've got to remember, though, not waterproof. So, if it rains for 2 or 3 nights, she cannot feed. She's not waterproof. So therefore, in the wild, the average lifespan for a barn owl, guys, 5 years of life. 3/4 of them, they don't actually make it past their first year in the wild. Now here it was, by law, every bird we've got at Kielder Water Bird of Prey Centre, they've got to be captive bred by law. So Ella, guys, she actually came from Beamish. I haven't had a bird of prey centre there. Now, whilst the average lifespan in the wild is 5, Ella's just celebrated her 14th birthday. All being well, I'd hope for 20. But you've got to remember, obviously, if she's poorly, we take her to the vets. However, we have to use a specialist avian vets located just over at Morpeth, and that's because your regular vets, they don't like you turn up with a white-tailed fish eagle. So we use a specialist avian vets located just over at Morpeth. Now the barn owl, it's got these fabulous dark eyes. Now with owls, you've got 3 different eye colours. So you have dark eyes, like the barn owl you can see here. They do tend to be nocturnal, so yes, she does prefer coming out at night time for sure. Left-handed memory, thank you. However, with the barn owl, you can see the barn owls during the daytime. So why is this? It's to do with the weather. Well, you've got to remember, guys, if it rains for 2 or 3 nights, she cannot feed. She's not waterproof. So therefore, as soon as it stops raining,
you can then see barn owls during the daytime. And it's not that they want to be out, you've got to remember, they've got to come out in order to survive. And that's because over the course of a year, a single barn owl has got to catch 1,000 rodents. So this works out, give or take, it's 3 mice, shrews or voles daily if they want to survive on their own. But what about the barn owl? What about if it wants to raise a family? Well, the number of rodents, it goes up, and it goes up by quite a considerable number. Thank you very much. It goes up to anywhere between 4,000 and 5,000 rodents yearly. They've got to catch to raise a family. So you've got to remember, it's incredibly important, guys, that you don't use your rodent poison. Because you've got to remember, you poison your mice, your shrews, your rats and your voles, you poison these guys as well. However, it's not just the barn owl that is affected. You do affect the tawny owl, the little owl, sporadically the long-eared owl, and then also your birds of prey, such as the common kestrel. Because the common kestrel, it is a lot like the barn owl, and in fact it is primarily, especially, small rodent hunter. Now, she's got another issue. She likes to live in barns. Obviously, she picked up the name of the barn owl. Prior to living in barns, they actually nested in quarries, which would explain the coloration down a barn owl's back. However, she's losing her habitat. And the reason she's losing her habitat is we like converting barns into properties, into barn conversions. So the poor barn owl, it is losing its habitat. And then if they're not being converted, they're being knocked down because of unsafe structures. So the solution to that, guys, obviously where possible, nest boxes. But it's not just nest boxes for the barn owls, it's nest boxes for your tawny owls, your little owls, and then even your birds of prey such as your common kestrel. Because nowadays your common kestrel, it does use a lot of artificial, or obviously man-made boxes. And like I say, they're in decline. So that's a fabulous, go on Ellie, you've done well, British or common barn owl. Like I say, she's one of 5 owl species you can see here in the UK. But please remember, guys, don't use your rodent poison, good girl. And then also, where possible, nest boxes, guys. They do need all the help that they can get. If we have a bad winter, which unfortunately here in Kielder we do quite frequently, the barn owls suffer. They do suffer, guys. They have a very, very difficult time in the wild. So like I say, that's a fabulous British or common barn owl. Good girl. Yeah, that's what I've got the common buzzard as well, oh yeah. Tied to Albert, aren't you? Right, go on, Ella, last one. Problem is she's got lots of food inside her at the minute. So like I say, that's a fabulous British barn owl, guys. Good girl. Right, then we're going to put Ella away. I think they've actually stopped working. I've fed him already. I think they've stopped working for the lunch. Right, normally I would have got Deed out, guys, but I've given him a day off because they're obviously working, unfortunately. I don't want him to get scared. So I'm going to put Ella away. Now we're going to go globally. We're going to get the most common bird of prey out. Right, I think I'm done. So now, we're going to go globally. So in the wild, this next bird, she comes down across Africa, Asia, India, Europe, even parts of Australia. You're going to meet Thistle, and she's a female black kite. However, by law, she's captive bred, so she's never been to those warmer, nicer climates in her life. She came from Aberdeen.
Right then guys, so here she is. This is Thistle. Now Thistle, she's our female black kite. Now kites in the wild guys are predominantly scavengers, so what they do is eat an awful lot of carrion. In the wild they like to eat a lot of dead animals. The biggest thing she'll catch alive is a rat. So it's basically an overgrown rodent. But what she really likes to do, she likes to eat insects. And with the insects she's got the amazing capability to grab them in the talons. And then as fast as lightning, they transfer it from the talons, completely missed that bit, to their beak, and then they gobble it up. And that's to stop any other predatory birds from trying to steal Thistle's dinner. So in her case, it's other black kites from trying to steal her dinner. So here in the UK, we have one native kite species, guys, and that's the red kite. Now the red kite has got a fabulous forked tail. There we've got H just around the corner. It's got a lovely temperament, but it's bone idle, so I'll put the black kite out at the minute. Now the red kite has got a fabulous forked tail, and that's how you can tell the difference from a red kite to say another native raptor, such as a common buzzard. Now the common buzzard, it lacks the forked tail. However, if you look at Thistle, the black kite, she hasn't. She hasn't got a forked tail when she's in flight. And then also out of the two kites, the black kite is a slightly smaller kite species as well. Now we're going to go to Africa, where they've been causing a little bit of trouble. Now admittedly, it's not intentional, but what happens guys, the fires start. So the fires start across Africa, and then what happens, look here, the kite then pick up burning branches in their talons. So they pick up burning branches in the talons, they fly off with them a bit and they drop them on the floor. And what they're aiming to do, they're aiming to flush out rodents. Because unfortunately for the poor rodent, it comes out pre-barbecued. However, that makes it incredibly easy for the black kite. Well, they have been starting forest fires across Africa and then across parts of Australia. They've been doing it for absolutely donkey's years, and they picked up the name the Firehawk as a result. But then we're going to go to India, where it's worse. And the reason it's worse for the black kite, catch it, because otherwise it lands on someone. Thank you. So like I say, the reason it's worse for the black kite across India is we're losing them. We're losing this fabulous raptor species. However, the reason we're losing them is we're losing the insects. So we're losing the insects, and it's directly affecting. It's working its way up through the food chain. Unfortunately, it's starting to affect the black kite. So in the wild, average lifespan 10 to 15 years. However, I'm going to use our native red kite as an example now. There was a red kite found in Wales 2 years ago. Unfortunately, it was deceased when it was found. However, come on you, they checked the ring number on that red kite, and it was 26. So they can do it in the wild, but you've got to remember it's rare, obviously. Here with us, obviously it's a common occurrence. So Thistle herself, she's just turned 9 years old, but we'd hope for 20 to 25 years of life. So that's a fabulous black kite. One more to me, Thistle, please. Stop looking at Ben. I'll keep on looking at Ben, it's fine. So like I say, that's a fabulous black kite, the most common bird of prey globally. Like I say, unfortunately, particularly across India, there has been a slight decline. Meow. Come on you. Thank you. Now what you'll notice is she's eating, she's got no table manners. But obviously you've got to remember guys, if you're in the wild, you don't have table manners. If you have table manners, you lose your dinner. Or worse, you get eaten by something bigger. So as a result, she has no table manners. So like I say, that's a fabulous black kite. So we're going to put Thistle away. Now we're going to go to the Dominican Republic. Nom 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 nom. Right then guys, earlier on you met Ella and she was a fabulous British or common barn owl. Like I say, she's one of 5 of our native owl species, so you can see them in the wild throughout the UK. Now, we're going to go to the Dominican Republic and very shortly you're going to meet Spark. Just having his transmitter put on. Right then guys, so here he is. This is Spark. Now Spark, he's an ashy-faced barn owl. So in the wild, he can be found across the Dominican Republic and across the Caribbean. But obviously by law, he's captive bred, he has to be guys. I bred him here, thank you, Kielder Water Bird of Prey Centre 2 years ago as part of the captive breeding programme. His mum and dad are Ash and Ember. They're located just around the corner. Hopefully we'll have a pitter-patter of baby ashy-faced owls very, very shortly. And now you'll notice, unlike the British or common barn owl, it is darker, and the ashy-faced barn owl itself is actually slightly larger out of the two. Now that's just because its habitat's changed. So because its habitat's changed, it's got to try and adapt. However, it still shares a few common traits with the British barn owl. So one of them, oh, he's finished his dinner, there we go. So one of them guys, silent flight, he doesn't make any noise when he flies. You guys remember these, that was your cue. So again, silent flight, he doesn't make any noise when he flies, and unfortunately you've got to remember once again, he's not waterproof, particularly in the wild. He comes from across the Caribbean, so he gets a lot less rainfall than we do here in the UK, particularly here in Kielder. That's because it rains on average for 4,000 days of the year. So as a result, they get a lot less rainfall, obviously in the wild. So once again, it's far from waterproof. And then again, he's got that fabulous heart-shaped facial disc. So that facial disc, guys, once again, it's like a satellite receiver dish. It's a radar dish. So again, sounds and noises, good lad, are being funneled into Spark's ears. Thank you very much. And again, his ears are wonky, or what we term asymmetric. Never think it lovely. So his right ear is slightly higher and larger than the left. And what that does, again, it gives him the directional or the asymmetrical hearing. Now, like his cousin, the British barn owl, they do used to eat primarily his smaller rodents in the wild. So dark eyes, once again, so the ashy-faced barn owl, he is primarily a nocturnal owl species. However, what you will notice, he's got these lovely dark eyes, but he can't move them at all. So, because he cannot move his eyes, he's got to rotate his head. So, when he rotates his head, it's not all the way round, because that's physically impossible, his head would fall off. But what he can do, which in my eyes is still equally impressive, he can do a 270 degree rotation. So this is 3/4 of the way round. But what you've got to remember, guys, it's 3/4 of the way round, thank you very much, but that's in either direction. So it's a 3/4 rotation in either direction. And what that does, which is incredibly important, is it gives him a 360 degree field of vision. An owl's eyes are tubular. They're not eyeballs. They're not like mine and yours. All the birds are, actually, to be honest. They're tubular. So that they have to rotate their head. And in order to help him with that head rotation, he's got 14 bones in his neck as well. Now, the ashy-faced barn owl itself is currently least concern on the IUCN list, which is incredibly good news. So that means they're not near going extinct anytime soon. However, it has been noticed there's been a decline over the past 2 years in the wild. And the reason there's been a decline is, unfortunately for Spark, his big cousin's on the way down. And Spark's big cousin, guys, the largest of the barn owl family, the American barn owl. The American barn owl's on the way down, and unfortunately that means there's competition, guys. So there's competition, not only for food, because they'd like to eat your smaller rodents, but also there's competition for nesting sites as well. Now, to give you a size comparison, Spark here today, if you're a new money, he's 250 grams. That's what he weighs. If you weigh correctly,
I've got your back, he's 8 3/4 of an ounce. So as a result, Diamond, our female American barn owl we've got, she's £1.3, or about 570 grams. So she's considerably larger than the ashy-faced barn owl. And as a result, in the wild, unfortunately, the lovely ashy-faced barn owl is struggling to keep up. So there has been a slight decline in recent years. They go to bed. Good lad. So like I say, 2 years old in the wild, average lifespan 5. You might do 7 years at a push. However, obviously here with us, hopefully guys, 15 to 20 years. Because again, if he's poorly, good lad, we take him to the vets. And then also, because he comes from across the Caribbean in the wild, he gets 3 months off in the winter. He doesn't do anything. He just basically sits around eating mice, chicken and quail all day. That's all he does for 3 months. Yeah, he's got it easy in the winter. Because he's from a warmer climate, the temperature here, it does get rather cold. Good lad. So you work through the summer, don't you? Fully grown, 12 weeks. Done. We've got to remember, if you're in the wild, unless you're apex, you grow up. So basically, unless you're Millie, the humongous white-tailed fish eagle, or Evil up at the top, the Burroughs eagle owl from Africa. With us, she looks like a humongous Furby. But in reality, in Africa, she's actually an apex predator. Nothing eats her. So she's basically a humongous Furby that eats porcupines for fun. So she does take a bit longer to grow up, but she doesn't get eaten, guys. So like I said, that's a fabulous, good lad, ashy-faced barn owl. So we're going to put Spark away. And then to finish off, we're going to get one of our native falcons out. Like I say, guys, normally I'd put the big eagle owl out, but unfortunately I cannot risk it with that harvester going about. Can I have your transmitter, please? You can have my finger if I can have your transmitter. Thank you. Right then guys, so here in the UK we actually have 4 native falcon species. So the largest is the world-renowned peregrine falcon, and that's because it's the fastest creature on the planet. So in a vertical dive, 242 miles per hour. However, in level flight they can't catch a pigeon, they're not fast enough. We then have the hobby falcon, which is a migratory species. They've actually all just gone back this month to Africa. So they went to in Africa and they breed here in the UK. They're actually only present for a few short months of the year. And when they are, their diet consists of primarily dragonflies and insects. And then the smallest of the 4 falcon species, it's actually the Merlin falcon, guys. And the Merlin falcon, it tends to again, it eats your smaller birds. So we've got larks and we've got pipits, which then leaves us with one more. And this, guys, this is Connor. Now Connor, he's a common kestrel. Now the common kestrel is the only bird of prey that can hover. So if you see a kite or a buzzard, the ospreys have migrated back to Africa now. However, if you see a kite or a buzzard, they can't hover. It's impossible. Sure, me, thank you. However, the kestrel here, he can. Good lad, meow. So why does he hover? Because it uses a lot of energy, guys. And now it's actually to do with what he likes to eat in the wild. So he does eat bugs and beetles and numerous insects. However, he's actually a lot like the barn owl, guys. So the common kestrel itself is a specialist small rodent hunter. So again, your mice, your shrews, and particularly, thank you very much, the short-tailed field vole. Now, it's to do with when the rodent, it's when it goes to the toilet. So when a mouse or a vole, when it goes to the toilet, it releases a chemical into its wee. Now the chemical that it releases is phosphorus. Now if you put phosphorus under a UV light, it glows. It's like a bluey colour. So how does that help Connor, the common kestrel? What trick has he got up his sleeve? Well, apart from him being the only bird of prey that can hover,
He can also see into the UV spectrum. So when he's hovering down at the ground, what he's doing, he's looking at all of these blue streaks on the floor.
Okay, thank you. And when we'll just put your wake up back on it. There we go, perfect. So like I say, he's looking at all of these blue streaks on the floor. And when there's more blue streaks, there's going to be more dinner for the common kestrel. However, unfortunately, life in the wild is not easy. Not only 180 grams for 6¼ ounces. The average lifespan for a kestrel, 2 years of life. Obviously, sorry sir, was that close enough here? Obviously, really, that hurt sound, don't I, Connor? Can you go back and see Ben, please?
So like I say, obviously the odd individual, it lives longer. We got to remember, take time, thank you. You got to remember, it's rare. Now here with us, I've got a breeding pair of kestrels. I've got a breeding pair of kestrels around the corner. The male in that breeding pair, apart from the fact it gave them darker, which can't be helped, the male from that breeding pair is just turned 14 years old. Connor's mother, when she passed, she was 18. So obviously life again is a lot easier than life in the wild. Now the common kestrel, it was once the most common raptor or bird of prey you could see here in the UK. However, unfortunately, they have been in decline for a number of years. They've made a brief recovery, but unfortunately are in decline. Thank you very much. One of the reasons is you've got to remember, guys, he's a specialist small rodent hunter. Should have shouted, come on, Kez. There we go. So he's a specialist small rodent hunter. So again, my shrews are once again rather reliant on the short-tailed field vole. Now, unfortunately, that means there's competition. And the competition, guys, it comes in the form of a bird we had out earlier. And that bird is the barn owl. They both like to eat your smaller rodents in the wild. So unfortunately, there's competition. And I've seen photographs, he's not heavy, there's nothing to him. I've seen photographs where a vole's not having the best run, where a vole's not having the best day of its life. And that's because the vole's been caught by a barn owl. There's a barn owl's flying off with a vole, and it's incredibly powerful talons. However, if the voles, they can't get much worse, it can. Gets a lot worse. And that's because a kestrel comes down and it grabs the other side of the vole. And there's a plain tug of war with this poor short-tailed field vole, which I'm sure at that moment in its life probably thinking this isn't the best day of my entire life. However, unfortunately that means that there's competition, guys. So the common kestrel, again, it's got competition, plus we're building houses. You build houses, guys, unfortunately, at the speed we're doing throughout the UK, you lose farmland. And as a result, it does affect not just your raptors and your owls, obviously, but everything throughout the ecosystem. So now the most common bird of prey is the common buzzard. We have got a pair, the wild pair, they're knocking around here. We may well see the youngster at some point, very much. It does come over. So the kestrel at the minute, like I say, left-handed there for me. Well done. Can you shout, Connor? Well done, here he comes. So like I say, so they have been in decline. Now you'll notice, if you look at Connor, he's got a stripe under each eye. Now, this is called a Mallar stripe. Now, every falcon has this. So if you look at the peregrine falcon we've got, if you look at the Gyr hybrids we've got, good lad, they've all got this stripe. So why have the falcons got this stripe? Well, we've got to remember, basically, Connor is a kestrel, and he can't put sunglasses on. So what he's got a stripe under each eye, and what that does, it helps deflect the sun when he's hovering. And then if you look at Millie, the big white-tailed fish eagle we've got, Millie looks angry, because she is. But what she's also got is an incredibly bony eyebrow. That's why she looks so angry the whole time. That's called a supraorbital ridge. And again, it's essentially a pair of sunglasses, not just for your eagles, but your kites, your hawks, and your buzzards as well, guys. So your falcons have got a Mallar stripe. So he was fully grown 9 weeks. However, you'll notice Connor here, he's got a lovely grey head and he's got a grey tail. Now, generally speaking, it's a very, very good indication he's a male common kestrel. He's a male common kestrel over a year of age. And that's because when they're born, fully grown, see Connor, when they're born, fully grown, 9 weeks. However, I think there's something floating about. Did you see something, Ben? You did. Over here, please, Connor. Connor, come on. Come on. Come on, Connor. You've done well. So like I say, so good lad. Oh, good buddy. So like I say, so the kestrels have the mallard stripe, and then obviously they've got the eagles, your kites, your hawks, and your falcons, the super orbital ridge. So fully grown, 9 weeks old. However, if you look at his back, you'll notice he's a reddy colour. Now the female common kestrels, guys, have actually that reddy colour all over. They lack the grey head. He's seen something, hasn't he? Ah, right, possibly. So the female kestrels, they lack, we may have to go down to 1 flight each, because he's, like very much, he's seen something. Connor, quick, come on please. So like I say, the female kestrel, he's seen something. If you're okay to stand up with me, that would be lovely. Go on, Connor, last flight. So the female kestrels, they stay a reddy colour their entire life, and then they lack the grey head and the grey tail. But what that shows in the male common kestrels is maturity, guys. It shows they're capable of breeding, and that's because he's capable of breeding in his first year of life. But when your average lifespan's 2, you've got to be able to reproduce in your first year of life, guys. So that's the fabulous common kestrel. And like I say, he's one of 4 falcon species you can see here in the UK. That's lovely, thank you very much. With the largest, good lad, being the world-renowned, obviously peregrine falcon. But we then have the fabulous kestrel you can see here, but we also have the hobby falcon, and then the smallest, good lad, it's the Merlin falcon as well, guys. So...
No, really. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. That's interesting, isn't it? It's video.
The one I flew, black, fine, black kite, fine. I ain't got a problem. She's not domesticated. You know what I mean? Yeah, she's not domesticated. So they do. The cats can dress, but they're not.